Strategy games always feel different because they make you use your brain even for a single move, and every decision you make in the game actually matters. It's not about how fast you are or how good your aim is. This is where strategy takes the spotlight. If you don't come up with a good plan, the game simply won't reward you. Today, I'm going to talk about some of the best strategy games you can play. Let's get started. Manor Lords. Like most city-building strategy games, you begin with very limited resources and a small population. From there, you slowly grow your settlement by planting wheat, turning it into flour, baking bread, and feeding the people of your village. Preparing for winter is crucial. If you fail to stockpile enough food or firewood before the cold arrives, the villagers won't survive the harsh season, and you may be forced to start all over again. What makes Manor Lords different from many other strategy games is its limited resource system. For example, when you find a stone deposit and mine it, eventually it runs out completely. The same applies to hunting. Your hunters can only hunt the animals that exist in that area, and once they're gone, you must search for new lands. You can also raise an army and fight real-time tactical battles against rival lords. The family system is another unique feature. Each family performs different types of work, and you assign them to specific jobs. If you enjoy medieval city-building strategy games, this is definitely one you should try. Anno 1800. Now we move from medieval times to the Industrial Revolution. In Anno 1800, you build island colonies during the Age of Industry. You grow cotton for your city, turn it into fabric, and produce clothing for your population. The game features two different regions, the Old World, Europe, and the New World, the Americas. You transport resources using ships and optimize trade routes to keep everything running smoothly. Your population is divided into different tiers: farmers, workers, artisans, engineers, and investors, and each tier has its own needs and demands. One of the most interesting mechanics is the newspaper system, which broadcasts your decisions to the entire city and influences public opinion. You can play multiplayer in either co-op or competitive modes. The graphics are stunning, and the cities feel incredibly alive, with its massive DLC expansions adding huge amounts of content. Anno 1800 is one of the best industrial city-building games you can play. Frostpunk 2. Frostpunk 2 takes place 30 years after the events of the first game. Humanity has now entered the oil age, and the city has grown much larger. Unlike the first game, you're no longer limited to building your city in a single small area. You can now expand across much larger regions. A new faction system has been introduced, where different groups within your city demand different ideologies and policies. You can't just make decisions freely anymore. Instead, you must build a council hall and submit your laws for voting, much like a real government system. Resource management remains just as challenging as before. You still need to balance coal, oil, food, and other essential supplies to keep your society alive. Building strong shelters to protect your people from devastating storms is also crucial. Compared to the first game, Frostpunk 2 requires even deeper strategic thinking and is absolutely worth playing. Cataclismo. Cataclismo combines castle defense with real-time strategy to create a very unique experience. Hordes of terrifying creatures constantly attack your settlement, and your job is to defend it by building powerful fortresses. The building system is incredibly detailed. You place structures block by block, and structural integrity actually matters. Preparing for a siege can take days as you construct walls, towers, and traps to protect your base. When night falls, the real challenge begins. Massive hordes arrive, and you'll be watching closely to see whether your defenses can survive the assault. Unit control is also very detailed. You decide where archers should fire from, and how melee units should engage the enemy. The campaign mode gradually becomes harder with each level, and the physics system is impressive. Walls crumble, towers collapse, and battles feel chaotic. Thanks to the creative building system, you can design completely unique defensive structures. It's highly addictive because it constantly gives you that just one more round feeling. FTL, faster than light. In FTL Faster Than Light, you pilot a spaceship across the galaxy while trying to escape the rebel fleet. The game's roguelike structure makes every run feel different, which keeps you coming back for more. Crew management is extremely important. You need to carefully maintain your ship's oxygen, shields, weapons, and engines. Crew members must be assigned to different stations, and you can even send boarding parties to enemy ships during combat. Random events throughout the galaxy create small stories along the way. You might encounter peaceful traders, hostile aliens, or dangerous space pirates. The game also features permadeath. If your ship is destroyed, you start from the beginning. However, unlocks are permanent. New ships, weapons, and upgrades gradually become available as you progress. The atmospheric soundtrack by Ben Prunty perfectly complements the experience. FTL is incredibly addictive because its RNG feels challenging but fair, and it almost always makes you want to play just one more run. Total War Warhammer 3. Epic-scale battles set in the Warhammer fantasy universe have always been something strategy fans love. In Total War Warhammer 3, you manage your empire on a turn-based campaign map, handle diplomacy, and prepare for massive battles where thousands of units clash on the battlefield. The game features many different factions such as the demonic forces of Khorne, the sorcerers of Tsench, the bear-riding warriors of Kislev, and many more. Each faction has its own unique playstyle, making every campaign feel different. The magic system is extremely powerful. Spells can completely change the outcome of a battle. Legendary lords are also incredibly strong and can sometimes defeat entire armies almost on their own. The Realm of Chaos campaign provides a narrative-driven experience, while the Immortal Empires mode combines the maps and factions from all three Total War Warhammer games into one massive sandbox. The game also supports multiplayer co-op campaigns. With its depth and scale, it's incredibly addictive and easily one of Creative Assembly's biggest achievements, a true paradise for Warhammer fans. RimWorld. RimWorld is a sci-fi colony simulator where the story unfolds procedurally, meaning every playthrough creates its own unique narrative. You start with 3 colonists and slowly build and expand your colony from there. At the beginning, you choose an AI storyteller, Cassandra, Phoebe, or Randy Random, each one shaping the events of your colony in different ways. Your colonists usually have different roles. One might be a miner, another a builder, and another a cook. Each character also has a mood bar. If they become too unhappy, they might have a mental breakdown and even abandon the colony entirely. Since raids can happen at any moment, you'll need to build strong defenses to protect your settlement. Everything from turrets to walls can be carefully planned and constructed. The modding community is absolutely massive, with over 10,000 mods available, giving you endless new ways to play. It's incredibly addictive because every colony tells a completely different story. XCOM 2. In XCOM 2, aliens have already taken over Earth, and you lead the resistance from a mobile base called the Avenger, a massive spaceship traveling across the planet. For each mission, you bring a squad of 6 soldiers and send them out to complete objectives against alien forces. The game features permadeath, which means if one of your soldiers dies in battle, they're gone forever. Before each mission, you carefully choose your squad and customize their weapons, equipment, and appearance. Back on the Avenger, you manage research, training, and engineering to strengthen both your soldiers and your base. The War of the Chosen expansion adds a huge amount of new content and mechanics, making the game even deeper. On top of that, XCOM 2 has very strong mod support. Fans of the series are extremely dedicated, and the community continues to create new content for the game. Homeworld Remastered. Homeworld Remastered is one of those games that almost redefines the RTS genre. It's widely considered one of the best space strategy games ever made. You travel across the galaxy with your mothership, building a fleet and searching for your lost homeworld. To expand your power, you send resource collectors to mine asteroids and gather the materials needed to unlock new technologies. What makes the game stand out is its fully 3D tactical combat. Enemies can attack from above, below, or any direction in space, so positioning your fleet becomes incredibly important. You might arrange your ships into spherical formations to defend against incoming attacks. You can command over 100 spacecraft at once, creating massive space battles. The campaign itself is also memorable, as you slowly uncover the story while searching for your true home. If you're looking for a great space RTS, this is definitely one of the best. Whiskerwood. Whiskerwood is a strategy game set in a charming world ruled by cats. You manage and organize adorable animal workers, making it one of the coziest strategy games out there. You start by building a settlement, then expand your influence by exploring the world, digging through mountains, crossing seas, and discovering new territories. As your settlement grows, you develop automation systems to make everything more efficient. Each animal has its own mood bar, and keeping them happy is important. If morale drops too low, your entire system can start falling apart. The game also includes a quest system that adds narrative elements to your journey. There's plenty of customization as well, from buildings to decorations. Multiplayer co-op is also planned for the future. The hand-drawn graphics are charming, and the relaxing soundtrack gives the game a warm, cozy atmosphere. It's addictive in its own way because it manages to feel wholesome while still being strategically engaging. Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden. Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden is a turn-based tactical game set in a post-apocalyptic world where you play as mutant animals. It's often compared to XCOM, but it adds a strong stealth element to the formula. Before battles begin, you can explore the world in real time, scout enemy positions, and even silently eliminate enemies one by one before the main fight starts. This allows you to set up ambushes and gain a tactical advantage. Your party consists of 3 main characters, Borman, Dux, and Selma, each with unique abilities and combat roles like tank, sniper, or support. Unlike XCOM, the game doesn't have permanent character death, but the difficulty can still be challenging. As you progress, you unlock new abilities through the mutation system, explore dangerous locations like the Zone of Death in Eden, collect loot, and modify your weapons. The game is highly satisfying because planning stealth attacks and setting up perfect ambushes never gets gets old. Commandos Origins. If you enjoy stealth and tactical gameplay, Commandos Origins is definitely a game you should keep an eye on. Set during World War II, this real-time tactics game puts you in charge of a small but highly skilled commando squad. You have 6 different commandos, and each one brings unique abilities to the mission. The Green Beret specializes in close combat, the sniper takes enemies out from long distances, the sapper handles explosives, and the driver can operate vehicles. What makes the gameplay really satisfying is how the enemy guards follow fixed patrol routes. If you study their movements carefully and time everything perfectly, you can pull off incredibly clean stealth operations. Sometimes you can even kidnap enemy commanders directly from their routes without anyone noticing. And if things go wrong, no problem. Just reload your save and try again. For stealth tactics fans, Commandos Origins feels like the perfect mix of nostalgia and modern gameplay. Crusader Kings III. Crusader Kings III isn't just a strategy game, it's basically a medieval dynasty simulator. You can start as a duke, king, or even an emperor, and your main goal is to manage your family and build a lasting dynasty. Every character in the game feels unique thanks to their traits, skills, and hidden secrets. The intrigue system is incredibly deep, allowing you to plot murders, blackmail rivals, or even seduce important characters to gain power. Marriage alliances are extremely important too, because genetic traits can actually pass down to future generations. That means one smart marriage decision can shape your entire dynasty. You also have to keep your vassals under control. If someone becomes too powerful, they might rebel against you. On top of that, religion, culture, and a stress system all influence how your ruler behaves. Succession laws can get complicated as well. From primogeniture to elective systems, every choice changes the political landscape. The best part is the role-playing potential. Every campaign creates completely different stories, which makes the game incredibly addictive. It truly feels like just one more generation. Northgard is a Viking-themed RTS inspired by Norse mythology, and it brings a fresh twist to the classic strategy formula. At the start of the game, you choose a clan like Stag, Raven, Bear, or Wolf, and each clan comes with its own unique bonuses and playstyle. Instead of expanding freely like traditional RTS games, Northgard uses a tile-based expansion system. That means you need to carefully choose which territories to claim, making every decision more strategic. Resource management is also crucial. You'll constantly be balancing food, wood, stone, gold, and lore to keep your settlement alive. Seasons play a big role too, especially winter. If you don't prepare properly, your entire colony can struggle to survive. There are multiple ways to win, including military conquest, fame, trade, or wisdom victories. Multiplayer matches are fast and competitive, usually lasting around 30 to 40 minutes, which makes it easy to jump into another game. If you like RTS games like Age of Empires, but want something with a unique twist, Northgard is a great choice. Civilization VII. In Civilization VII, you start as the leader of a civilization on a massive continent, and from that moment on, the future of your empire is entirely in your hands. Each leader has unique abilities, and as the game progresses, you'll explore new lands, build cities, develop technologies, and shape the destiny of your people. Diplomacy plays a huge role as well. Instead of always going to war, you can form alliances and maintain peaceful relationships with other civilizations. If you ever get bored of one civilization, don't worry, there are dozens of different ones to try, and every new playthrough feels like a completely different experience. You can play solo or with friends, and either way it's incredibly fun. Honestly, Civilization is one of those legendary strategy series that almost everyone already knows about. Against the Storm is a unique mix of a city builder and a roguelite, and that combination makes it surprisingly addictive. Each run generates a different map with different races living in your settlement. Meanwhile, a massive storm called the Blight Storm is slowly approaching, so you're constantly racing against time. Your job is to build settlements and complete orders given by the Queen while keeping your population happy. The different races, humans, beavers, lizards, and harpies, all have unique needs and abilities, which makes city management more complex and interesting. Production chains can get pretty deep as well. Raw materials need to be processed into more advanced resources to keep your settlement running. You can also choose special perks called cornerstones, which shape your strategy for that run. Since each run only lasts about 1-2 hours, but the replayability is extremely high, it's very easy to say just one more settlement. Bloons TD 6. Bloons TD 6 takes the classic tower defense formula and turns it into something incredibly fun. The idea is simple: monkeys pop balloons, but the strategy behind it goes surprisingly deep. There are more than 70 towers in the game, including dart monkeys, snipers, ninjas, and alchemists. Each tower has 3 different upgrade paths, with up to 5 tiers each. Tower synergies are a huge part of the strategy too. For example, an alchemist can buff nearby towers, while a village increases their range and efficiency. The game also features unique hero units like Quincy, Gwendolyn, and Striker Jones, each with special abilities. There are tons of maps with different difficulty levels, and the free play mode lets you survive endless waves, You can even play co-op with up to 4 players, which makes it even more chaotic and fun. Despite its simple concept, Bloons TD offers surprisingly deep strategy, and that's exactly why it's so addictive. Tempest Rising. If you miss the golden age of classic RTS games, Tempest Rising might be exactly what you're looking for. It's basically a modern revival of the classic Command and Conquer formula. The game features 2 main factions, the GDF Global Defense Forces and the Tempest Dynasty, and each faction has its own tech tree and unique playstyle. Base building feels very classic here. You'll be constructing power plants, barracks, and factories, while gathering resources from a mysterious substance called Tempest, which works a lot like Tiberium from Command & Conquer. The campaign lets you experience the story from both sides, and multiplayer includes competitive modes like 1v1 and 2v2. There's also a good variety of units including infantry, tanks, aircraft, and even naval combat. The game runs on Unreal Engine 5, so it looks modern while still keeping that nostalgic RTS feel. Even the voice acting has that slightly cheesy Command & Conquer style, which honestly adds to the charm. If you grew up playing StarCraft or Command & Conquer, Tempest Rising will probably feel very familiar in the best way possible. StarCraft II. StarCraft II is basically a legendary RTS game from Blizzard, and even after all these years, it's still very active. The game features 3 completely different races, Terran, Zerg, and Protoss, and each one plays very differently. That asymmetric design is a big part of why the game feels so balanced and interesting. The story campaign is split into 3 parts, Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, and Legacy of the Void, each focusing on a different perspective in the war. Co-op missions are also extremely popular, where you and a friend control powerful hero commanders in PvE missions. And of course, there's the competitive multiplayer ladder, where players climb ranks and compete in tournaments. StarCraft II requires both macro management and micro control, which means the skill ceiling is incredibly high. That's one of the reasons it became such a huge esport, especially in South Korea. There's even an arcade mode where players create custom games and entirely new experiences. The base game is free to play now, and even though it originally released in 2010, it still feels timeless. Marvel's Midnight Suns. If you like strategy games but also love superheroes, Marvel's Midnight Suns offers a pretty unique mix. It's a turn-based tactical RPG featuring characters from the Marvel Universe, but the combat system is built around cards. Each hero has their own deck of cards that represents their abilities, and combining those cards in the right way can lead to some really satisfying combos. Positioning also matters a lot in battles. You can knock enemies into objects, throw them into hazards, or use the environment to your advantage. Outside of missions, you spend time exploring the Abbey, which acts as a hub world. Here you can interact with other heroes, build relationships, and even strengthen friendships. You also create your own customizable character called the Hunter, with different abilities and skill trees. The story revolves around the threat of Lilith and Hydra, and team composition becomes very important since hero abilities can synergize with each other. It's made by Firaxis, the studio behind XCOM, so even though it's not exactly the same style, you can still feel that tactical DNA. It's honestly a bit of an underrated game, but for Marvel fans and strategy lovers, it's definitely worth checking out. Stellaris. Stellaris takes grand strategy into space, and the scale of the game is honestly massive. You start by creating your own species with detailed customization options like traits, ethics, and government type. From there you explore the galaxy, colonize star systems, and slowly build your interstellar empire. Traveling between star systems uses FTL technology, and as you explore, you'll encounter other civilizations. Diplomacy is very complex too. You can form federations, start rivalries, negotiate trade deals, or even manipulate other empires politically. The galaxy also faces major crisis events like the Praetorian Swarm, the Contingency, or the Unbidden, which can threaten all civilizations. Another cool feature is the Ship Designer, where you can customize your fleets however you want. Your empire's evolution is shaped by ascension perks, letting you focus on psionic powers, synthetic life, or biological perfection. With tons of DLC expansions and a huge modding community, including Star Trek and Star Wars conversions, Stellaris offers nearly endless possibilities. If you love space opera stories and grand strategy, this is absolutely a must-play. Terra Invicta. The game begins with an alien invasion, but instead of fighting directly on the battlefield, you're controlling global factions trying to influence Earth's future. There's a strong geopolitical layer where you influence countries, control governments, and even launch coups. At the same time, there's also a space layer where you build orbital stations, mine asteroids, and expand humanity's presence in space. The research tree is huge and focuses on realistic science fiction concepts. There are 7 factions in total, each with different ideologies. Some want to resist the aliens, others want to cooperate with them, and some even want to exploit the situation for power. The learning curve can be pretty steep, but if you enjoy deep, complex strategy games, Terra Invicta offers a really rewarding experience. Dune Spice Wars. Wars. Dune: Spice Wars is a 4X strategy game set in the legendary universe created by Frank Herbert. The game takes place on the desert planet Arrakis, where different factions fight for control of the most valuable resource in the universe, spice. You can play as factions like House Atreides, House Harkonnen, the Fremen, or the Smugglers, and each one offers a completely different strategy. Since Arrakis is a desert planet, water management becomes incredibly important, and every resource feels valuable. Politics also play a role through the Landsrod, where factions vote on resolutions that can change the balance of power. Espionage is another major mechanic, allowing agents to infiltrate rival factions and sabotage them from within. You'll also use ornithopters to scout the map, while massive sandworms roam the desert and can either destroy your harvesters or become part of your strategy. If you're a fan of Dune, the game does a great job capturing the atmosphere of the universe. Norland. Norland is a really interesting strategy game that feels like a mix between RimWorld and Crusader Kings. You manage a medieval kingdom where both lords and peasants play important roles in society. The social dynamics are surprisingly complex. Nobles might scheme against each other, while peasants could revolt if conditions get too harsh. Combat is turn-based and tactical, while base building allows you to construct castles, farms, and marketplaces. Dynasty management is also a big part of the game, including marriages, heirs, and succession. Your neighboring kingdoms are controlled by AI lords, which means diplomacy, alliances, and wars are always part of the political landscape. Random events like plagues, invasions, and betrayals keep the world unpredictable. Seasons also matter, especially winter, which means preparation is essential. Since characters can die permanently, the story of your kingdom continues through the next generation. And because of all these systems interacting with each other, every playthrough creates its own dramatic story.